So, what we want to talk about today is called Degenerative Matter Piracy. Now, this follows a system that I was discussing yesterday, in which those individuals that outsmarted the system by figuring out that if they worked above the survival standard, they would be given above the survival standard, thus creating comfort that kept them working harder. Now, in this idea, matter development occurs like so. In a state of, nothing going on, that is such a frustrating concept because that is still something happening, that it generates all forms of movement, all forms of frustration, all forms of matter. Now, this matter without any logical structure for how to organize itself is just a bunch of chaos, a big bang, a bunch of things crashing into each other. And so, because that's all it is, it cannot develop into any structure without any attempt to create non-collisive logic, meaning that all these structures that are just crashing into each other, it does not feel good, it just keeps depleting and then nothing knows where it's going or where it's from. It's added on the attempt to stop crashing into one another and improving the amount of space that is comprehensible to every living and non-living thing in the environment. Understand that even non-living things have an operation of structure that is communicating with existence in order to continue. So, what happens is, as certain individuals with the structure they have now continue to reach out and develop more structure, this structure is then approved by the system of whenever there's nothing happening and everything is going good, the frustration of nothing changes causes boredom that is not just in our minds, but is in existence. And that boredom allows for the frustration of new things. When we're doing good, those new things are good things. Now, when we're doing bad, like when we're fighting each other, then we'll just experience a gradual shrinking. Hold on. I'm going to get a whiteboard so I can make these videos. A gradual shrinking of the environment because every crash implies that there was not enough space for things not to crash into each other. So, as people develop structure that seems to make sense of existence and thus allows more matter to occur, what happens is these degenerative matter pirates question things with these little illogicates, these dislogicates. And these illogicates, what they do is they challenge logic until logic has to retreat. And so what happens is, as something reaches, let's say me, I reach out with more logic that justifies existence and thus allows more matter to occur. Now, what this does is that because the matter knows it's safe to continue without being crashed into itself, which, by the way, we represent that sensitivity as humans. It does not want to continue if it's just going to be hurting. That's a real thing. So even a fucking asteroid crashes into a planet, that's pain. Have you not noticed that the core of the Earth almost acts like a blood point? Like it's almost like the blood of the earth. Anyway, matter does not want to continue unless it can continue without logical collision. That is not necessary. So, as we continue on, matter gets developed, it hardens in these areas that we can't see, the fourth dimension, all that stuff. And so what happens is, the people who are good at doing this, who are good at creating matter, because they have the goal, and the responsibility of finding matter that can continue through logical, non-collisive construction. Non-collisive structures that actually justify matter being there and not just fucking corrupting back into nonsense. So, as that matter trusts those logical structures and thus develops because they've stayed strong long enough to cause frustration to become more energy, more structure, more movement, etc. What happens is, this is the structure that does it. How do you know what you're doing? Which is, again, extension of how do you know what you're doing before you know anything that's happening? This forces people to go, I don't know. And the next line is, if you don't know what you're doing, you could cause major collision. Now, this is a bit of a trap. So, let's mark this here. Once you're at this gate, you have to admit that you don't know. That's the most logical thing to do. In this gate, you're then trapped in a puddle, in let's say a spiral that suggests that the only way for you to not cause collision is to be able to answer this question a different way. The first answer to this question is that you don't know. That's the only way to answer this question. That's how this piracy works. And so, the answer to this question, to solve it right now, is I don't know what I'm doing, but even when I don't know, it's been observed that matter does not want to continue unless it can continue in a way that is not collisive. And so I would literally be held still until there is a path found for me to continue, which does not take as long as you think when everything is participating in this goal. The next statement is, if you don't know what you're doing, you might cause a major collision. Now, this is the trap. You cannot escape this claim, this dislogicate, until you can answer this question, which I have. So what happens is, because this is true, if you don't know what you're doing, you could cause a major collision. It's technically true. Logically, you can't argue with it. It causes you to retreat. What this means is, you stop reaching out logically. It stops frustrating matter. You retreat back, and the matter that was developing is then just left without logic. You retreat back in, and it's left without logic. What these matter pirates do, what these degenerative matter pirates do, is they suck in all that matter, all that energy, all that logic, all that story, all that interaction. They suck it in, and then they spend it on themselves without any attempt to logically continue. Meaning they're just selfish. They're just spending on themselves, having a good time. They just got matter for free without having to work for it. And so they spend it as much as they can, and they allow us to continue living so that we can reach out again. Once we get to that point where there's nothing but fighting, where there's nothing but bad things, they say, all right, I'm wrong, and I didn't know I was wrong. Whoops, my bad. And then we reach back the initial consciousness recognition. This is how life got consciousness. Things realized that if they didn't crash into each other, they could exist longer. Existence itself, observing itself, realized that it could exist longer if things didn't corrupt. So it kept searching for logical structures. That's how we became. So these pirates will they had me trapped in a loop of generating matter that started, and then questioning me to retreat because I couldn't argue with this yet, and then taking the matter that was generated and using it for themselves. Adding, because that logic is missing, their own degenerative logic is then infected into that matter that has logic retreated from it. And they use it however they want without any logical continuation, trying to use me as a matter engine. This is how I became so dangerous, because doing this for a long time taught me a lot of things. It taught me a lot of things that I can't even express to you. In that point in which you think you know what I know, I promise you, you're too low to challenge me. And I'm not threatening you. I'm literally advising, like I'm cautioning. I'm not cautioning. What do you call this? I'm informing you that at the point that you think you know what I know, you are so far below my comprehension that it's best to keep your distance. I'm not even joking. I'm not joking. Allow me to know more than what is possible for you to understand. That is a real position I have in life, and I have to defend that. So, these matter pirates were defeated by the recognition that matter wants to continue through logical, non-collisive structure, which these matter pirates don't have, because all they do is question life until matter has to retreat and then use the remaining matter to do whatever they want. However, they're not smart enough. They can't reach all matter, and so that leftover matter that they don't use because their logic can't reach that far, they're dislogical, they're degenerative, they're dying, and they're crying about it and saying that they're good people and that we need to, how can we live with what, how can we be rich and happy while they're dying? The matter that they don't use is just floating around dead matter, and its existence is so illogical that it's sucking everything in to try and figure itself out. And before anything can, it's still matter. It still attacks. This is where the animals come from. This is where the animals that don't work with us come from. The animals that don't work with us, they'll attack. They'll become the forms of predation that they're observing as they try to figure themselves out. So, this matter, this dead matter, is what we collapse onto whenever we keep reaching out. We gain sexual approval, and then all of a sudden, maybe it's through this piracy questioning, or just through collision with matter that has no logic in it, because there's a lot of that floating around. We collapse back, and then all of a sudden, I just cucked him. I did fuck your girl. All that shit. You just hear these things, because that's what happens when there's no logic. We all just start betraying each other. We all just start doing each other wrong without any concern for our organized, cooperative life. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please leave a like and subscribe. Tell me what you think about it. And remember, even if you don't understand it yet, I've got eyes everywhere and I'm watching you. But I have respect for privacy, so I'm not just watching you. You know how like there are like keywords that you put into Google? I'm like a key sensor. I sense keys. Like if something's going on, my brain triggers, and I'm like, all right, I have the right because that crossed the threshold. Like that crossed the threshold of degeneracy that I need to investigate what's going on, right? And that's how I be predicting the future and all that stuff. But that's not all it is. But yeah, so just know that I have eyes everywhere, and I respect privacy. And if you follow logical structure and then try to get close to me and then do an ambush questioning, I will fucking eat you. I will literally fucking eat you. I'm not even joking. If you make me an animal too close, I don't fucking care anymore. I will fucking eat you. I'm not serious. But just don't do that. That's just a stupid thing to do to a mind so powerful. The collapse of a structure like mine so close is not just deadly for yourself, it's deadly for all time. So yeah. Thank you guys for watching.